Number 15. Blue Acres. 1 mile off the coast of Florida sits a handful of wooden houses in a watery neighborhood known as Stiltsville. These structures originally operated as a network of illegal bars and gambling dens from the 30s till the 60s, but in the event of a zombie apocalypse, they could easily become one of the safest places on the entire East Coast. The stilt houses sit high atop wooden and concrete pillars. Even though they're quite old, they've been well preserved by the government, and their height makes it almost impossible for zombies to climb aboard. Even if a zombie does manage to get onto the pier area, you could run up a steep flight of steps, or else quickly climb the ladder, and you'd be back to safety in no time. Living a full mile off the coast means that zombie encounters would be fairly rare, as long as you didn't go around making a lot of noise. With that said, you still need to always be on guard, and that goes double for low tide. This is when the waters can become as shallow as 1 foot, and zombies can simply walk from the coast to where you are. They won't be able to reach you at first, but if you let them gather at the base of your house in numbers, then they might be able to climb on top of each other and get in. You'd have to kill them as soon as you saw them. Using a regular gun would be too loud, so picking them off from your patio with a silenced weapon would be the best option if possible. Otherwise, you'll have to hop down and risk hand-to-hand combat. The water reaches up to 10 feet during high tide, so you won't have to worry about zombies as much then. However, many people will have died at sea, so don't be surprised if a zombie in a life jacket washes onto the pier. Now, I'd like to pause this countdown for a moment and ask a question to all of you. Do you think your house is zombie-proof? Please leave me a comment, I would really love to know. As for me, I live in a row house, so I'm pretty much screwed. We've got a lot of high windows. But then again, it is pretty high, so I might just be able to stake it out in the attic. I think I'll be okay. Oh, and if you're feeling generous, please leave a like as well, it really helps us out. Number 14. Private Paradise. While Stiltsville is relatively safe, there is another spot in Florida that is 1,000,000 times better. When the zombies attack, you need to get to the private Gull Island paradise in the city of Marathon. This $12 million home is only a quarter mile from the coast, so you'd have to be extra careful not to be too loud. Turning on any lights is probably a bad idea too. At the same time, however, this property also offers much better protection than the old rickety wooden houses in Stiltsville. Even if a zombie manages to find you, there isn't much they can do. That's because a tall barrier of sharp rocks wraps around the entire property. These slippery rocks are way too difficult for the average zombie to navigate over, and even if they did climb past, they would still have to deal with an inner moat and a second wall afterwards. It's such a good design that you have to wonder if the architects were planning for a zombie Armageddon all along. Of course, no zombie getaway would be complete without a helicopter pad and a boating pier. Living here means that you can leave whenever you like, and the zombies can't easily get in. Number 13. The Cozy Bunker. Hardly anyone ever thinks about it, but the homeless are going to have a major advantage when it comes to surviving the zombie apocalypse. They already seem to know all the good hiding spots. Take a New York homeless man known only as Carlos, for example. He has transformed a tiny space under a train station into a fully functioning home. When the zombies come to get him, all he has to do is lift up a trapdoor that he made from a piece of plywood and drop down into a manhole. Inside of his tiny hovel, Carlos has working lights, a refrigerator, a makeshift stove, and even a coffee maker. It might not look like much now, but this will be the equivalent of a mansion when the end of the world comes. That is, at least as long as the city's power grid stays on. Number 12. Like a Rock. The Chevrolet Silverado Black Ops Edition isn't technically a home per se, but you can still live in one for quite some time. Its sturdy frame will get you through the worst floods, hurricanes, and, yes, even low-skill zombie invasions. This Silverado comes with a raised suspension system and heavy-duty 20-inch off-road tires, meaning that driving over the zombie masses is easier than ever before. And with an armor-plated body and shatterproof glass, this vehicle is more like a tank than a truck. If you can snag the 2014 edition, you'll find that it includes 2 gas masks, a solar power pack, a power generator, a military-grade first aid kit, and a crate full of important rations such as Twinkies. If movies like Zombie World have taught me anything, it's that snack food will be as good as gold in the post-zombie world. So buying this now is basically a long-term investment for the future. Most people will tell you to stay on foot during a zombie attack, and this is usually true. However, you can make an exception with one of these models. It might not be a permanent solution, but you can at the very least drive one until you find someplace safer. Number 11. The Ultimate Island. If you don't really feel like you're in the mood to get eaten by zombies, then why not move to the Manoa Cay in the Bahamas? The residents stay there year-round and rarely receive outsiders, so if a bacteria or a virus ever turns us all into zombies, then it probably won't reach these islands. Even if the area does become infected, there are barely 500 people living there. With enough ammunition and a good hiding spot, you could theoretically take out every zombie and have the entire island to yourself. Fortunately, since this is a beach area, the structures are mostly raised stilt homes with a much-needed height advantage. Take the Aroa cottage for example. This oceanfront property offers easy access to a boat, which means you can simply go fishing whenever you need more food. And it's on raised pillars. You could probably live in this cottage for years before you'd ever encounter a single undead zombie. This 2-mile island has a seawater purifier that can make 6,000 gallons of drinkable water every day. But despite its abundance of water, its conservative culture means that you won't find a drop of alcohol anywhere. I personally wouldn't mind too much, but I'm sure there are people who would rather just die instead of not drink. Number 10. Big Gull Island. When you think of islands, Alaska is probably the last place that comes to mind. However, that's precisely what makes Big Gull Island one of the safest places to be during a zombie attack. This house is selling for $3 million. It may sound like a lot of money right now, but when a zombie outbreak does happen, it'll be worth every penny. Living here means you are surrounded by miles and miles of water. The nearest community is a 15-minute boat ride away, so a zombie would have to take quite a long swim before it could even find you. At the same time, you would be free to travel into town to find supplies whenever you wished. A good strategy would be to lay low during the warm months and wait until the cold Alaskan winter sweeps in. The zombies will be too frozen to move, and you could just travel into town and scavenge for supplies until you've picked every last cabinet dry. Maybe you could even try to make friends with the remaining locals, if there are any left. On the other hand, you might not want to even travel into the city at all. First, somebody could easily follow you back to your place and kill you for your home. Second, you're living in one of the last wild places left on Earth, so you really could just live off of the land if you wanted to. All you would have to do is grab a fishing rod or a rifle and get your meals the old-fashioned way. Location aside, the architecture of the house is perfect. It has extremely tall walls, a lack of windows, and zombies would have to navigate winding steps if they wanted a chance at getting to the door. Very few of them would be able to crawl up these steps without falling over. And if you're cooped up in a house all by yourself with nothing to do, then watching zombies fall down a spiral staircase is probably quite fun. Number 9. Southern Survival. This 7,646 square foot mansion sits high on a hill in Austin, Texas. The 3.6 acre property is fully gated and very difficult for the living to reach, let alone the dead. There is also a separate guest house that would be great for a scouting team to use as a base to launch patrols. It's a strong setup for sure. When Olympics athlete Lance Armstrong bought the estate in 2004, he hired a team of professional architects to completely renovate the property. Thanks to his additions, you'll be able to snipe zombies from the comfort of your own rooftop deck, which comes complete with a pool. This deck offers 360 degrees of clear visibility so that you can always be on the lookout for stray zombies and, of course, other survivors. The gourmet kitchen is fully stocked with enough supplies to last for quite some time, and a full-sized movie theater is perfect for the rare occasion when you want to actually let your guard down and remember how the world used to be. The home gym and library will keep you and your team well trained and sharp, but if all else fails, this mansion has an exit plan like no other. Should zombies manage to break through your defenses, you can quickly scurry across a 200-foot outdoor bridge that leads directly to a private boathouse. From there, you would escape down Lake Austin to live another day. Hopefully you've remembered to stock your getaway boat with enough emergency supplies to last for a while. Number 8. The best bunker. In 1991, two cousins decided to buy an abandoned house in Saranac, New York, and convert it into something incredible. Whether they meant to do it or not, they created one of the greatest zombie-proof houses of all time in the process. At first glance, the quiet mountain home does not look like it could withstand even the smallest zombie attack for a single second. The windows are low to the ground and look easy to break through, and the plain-looking door is not reinforced at all. However, when you go down into the basement and press the right sequence on a keypad, you will find a fully converted nuclear silo. In the 1950s, this place used to hold a nuclear missile. Now, the entrance has been modified into a circular, two-level home. Best of all, there is absolutely no reason for a zombie to ever find the door that leads underground, let alone figure out how to get inside. Above ground, a private airstrip can be used for getting supplies onto the property. This will most likely attract noise, so at least one person will have to keep an eye out. It's not a perfect setup, but it's still a lot better than most other homes. Number 7. The Second French Revolution. Not everyone is going to cower in fear when the zombie apocalypse comes. A small percentage of brave souls will try to rise up and restore civilization. If you fall into the latter category, then the Cornaud Castle in France is a good place to take up arms. This is a real castle with a history dating back all the way to 1350. With 24 bedrooms and a series of fully furnished apartments, you can comfortably raise an army of up to 100 people without getting overcrowded. At Cornaud Castle, you and your group of survivors will have 320 acres of land to live off of. Your main source of food would most likely be fish from the many nearby ponds and canals, along with other local wildlife. Of course, you will have to be quick and well armed for these foraging expeditions. Otherwise, you might attract too much attention and lead the undead back with you to your hideout. Even if this happens, you won't have much to fear. The castle itself is modestly gated, and with 100 people, forming patrols and checking for intruders shouldn't be too difficult. You and your group could even go on horseback, for Cornaud Castle has multiple horse stables, as well as an indoor riding track you can use to train them. When the zombies take over, horses will most likely serve as the new form of long-distance transportation. They may spook easily, but if you can earn their trust, then they should let you ride them into town so you can recruit more survivors. Of course, horses tend to make a lot of noise, but if you already have a small army watching over you, then there really isn't much of a point in trying to keep quiet anyway. With this in mind, feel free to use the castle's outdoor tennis courts as much as you want. It's good exercise, and a strong backhand might come in handy one day against a zombie's skull. Number 6. The Puerto Rican Palace. The wealthy elite will have no problem surviving the zombie takeover in plush style. They will have full security teams and supplies regularly airlifted to their door whenever they want. For these privileged few, life will continue as normal as they finish the rest of their days in grand estates. Just take this castle in Puerto Rico, for example. The castle of Rincon is a gated compound overlooking miles of pristine forest and water. The steep mountains serve as natural deterrents for an invasion. And the castle has plenty of towers and balconies for sharpshooters to keep zombies at bay. Meanwhile, the castle's full-sized bar, spa and pool will keep you living in luxury, even as the outside world falls apart and dies. Best of all, the castle includes wind turbines and solar panels for generating electricity, and a huge underground reserve tank holds 30,000 gallons of drinking water. Before the zombie invasion, the castle of Rincon only cost $75 per month in utilities. It practically powers itself. Add a helicopter pad and a huge auditorium with enough seats for up to 100 guests, and this castle could one day become a site for world leaders to unite and form a new plan. Or it could just as likely become a fortress for yet another power-hungry tyrant. Number 5. The $1 Billion Escape. If you're going to spend the rest of your life fleeing from the undead, why not do it with style? The Azam is the world's largest home yacht ever constructed. and coincidentally, is perfect for escaping from ravenous zombies too. This 728-foot-long sea vessel shows that it's possible to live a luxurious and spoiled life well after zombies have taken control of the planet. While everyone else is busy finding basic necessities like food and shelter, your biggest problem of the day will be choosing between which of the two pools you feel like lounging by. Or maybe you'd prefer one of the yacht's numerous hot tubs instead. The yacht requires over 50 employees to operate, but as long as there isn't any mutiny, then you'll be treated like a post-apocalyptic king. Aside from hairstylists and gourmet chefs, you'll even be treated to your very own personal masseurs. Your master suite is 2 stories tall and also includes a private gym. The walls, by the way, are rumored to be bulletproof, and this isn't the only safety feature that's military grade. If any crazy outsiders ever try to attack the yacht, say perhaps if they fired a rocket launcher at you from within a helicopter or while on a speedboat, then they'd be in for a surprise. The Azam reportedly has a full missile defense system waiting for such an attack. Sailing around first class and picking up survivors sounds great at first, but it does have its limitations. First, the Azam can only go at a top speed of 33 miles per hour, so you aren't going to get very far. Second, it requires constant maintenance to stay afloat. This means you'll either have to frequently head back to the world of undead to look for supplies, or else risk breaking down at sea. On a similar note, once the fuel runs out, you'd better hope that you are somewhere close to land. Otherwise, you're going to be shark food. The Azam's owner has never revealed their identity, but there's a rumor that it's none other than the President of the United Arab Emirates. If this is true, then congratulations to him for coming up with an admirable zombie-proof plan. It makes you wonder how the rest of the world's leaders will stay safe after an infestation, doesn't it? Number 4. Safe and sound. This house belongs to the founder of a security company called SAFE, which stands for Strategically Armored and Fortified Environments. Ironically, his company's name is also a perfect description for his maximum security home in Los Angeles. First of all, very few zombies are going to reach where the house is located. If they do make the long uphill journey and make it to the house, then they won't be able to get much further. The building has steel and concrete walls, and the windows are virtually impossible to smash or push in. But for the sake of an argument, let's say that the undead are able to get inside. Maybe, for example, an infected family member lets themselves in and doesn't turn into a zombie until later. What happens then? Well, unless the zombies can figure out how to use a keycard, it isn't going to leave the room. Almost every single door and gate requires a special card to open. These doors can also be opened and closed via smartphone. None of this technology is of much help to a zombie, but it's very convenient for survivors. There are also absolutely no blind spots in this building, and sophisticated motion-activated cameras are placed in every corner. If you ever do see a zombie on the security monitors, you can go into one of the 4 special rooms that can be sealed off from the rest of the house with the twist of a knob. Of course, if the situation gets really bad, you can take a private elevator up to the rooftop and get away on a helicopter. These types of high-tech houses are so sophisticated that their construction has been banned because the police fear that they would be unable to get inside in case of an emergency. So if government law enforcement officials can't figure out how to penetrate this building, then good luck to the average zombie. Number 3. The Water Fortress. This 20,000 square foot castle in Miami has layers upon layers of security. The property itself is surrounded by thick hedges on all sides, and the main entrance is difficult to find. If zombies do manage to get that far, they will come upon a gatehouse with a huge iron fence. Of course, armed guards would cut them down with a barrage of tactical weaponry then and there. If they somehow overrun this choke point, which is almost impossible, then the zombies would come across a huge, impassable moat next. Even if they floated across the moat, or if they simply walked along the bottom to the other side, then they would find that the ledges are way too high to grab. The only way into the property is over a wooden bridge that could easily be destroyed. Sorry zombies, no brains for you. Number 2. The Black Cube. There's a house in Warsaw, Poland that's specifically designed to keep zombies out. It was constructed in 2009 and is only known as the Safe House. The Safe House is surrounded by a fence that is 7 feet tall and 18 inches thick. The house's solid black walls are also 18 inches thick, and they are framed by steel trusses that have been filled with mineral wool. A zombie horde could throw themselves at the material for years and not make a single dent. Now, this design sounds good enough on its own, but there's one thing in particular that separates the Safe House from any other home on the list. When the zombies come, the house can completely close itself off. An electric motor moves huge blocks in front of the windows so that there is no exposed glass. There is also no way to open the door and no light or sound comes through from inside. In this closed-off mode, the zombies never know you're here. The doors, walls and fence can shift at will. If you want the walls to form a courtyard so that you can stand outside for a bit, for example, then you can make it happen. In other words, the exact level of security is always left up to you. Number 1. Space houses. The European Space Agency tops this list with a futuristic 4-legged home design that guarantees protection from zombie invasions of all sizes. You'll be looking down at the undead masses from high above in the safety of your very own space house. Don't let the name Space House fool you. Though these sturdy miniature bases were indeed designed for missions in outer space, they have also served as research stations in Antarctica. Since space homes are made out of the same ultralight carbon fiber reinforced plastic materials that you'd find on board a real spacecraft, no number of zombies will ever be able to claw their way through, and that's if they could even reach you. Suspended high above ground, these spidery structures give you a better height advantage than even the stilt homes from number 15. The only way in or out is by elevator or ladder, depending on the exact model. Either way, the entry method is way too advanced for the average zombie to comprehend. Even if the undead manage to pile on top of each other high enough to reach the upper levels, there is little for them to do besides scratch at the windows. Space houses are designed to withstand earthquakes of up to 7.0 on the Richter scale, and they can resist wind speeds of up to 136 miles per hour. Not only will you be protected from zombie hordes, but you will be safe from any other natural disasters as well. In addition, space houses are equipped with the very best survival equipment on the market. The water recycling stations are powerful enough to transform urine into drinking water, and there are solar panels not only on your house, but also hooked up to satellites orbiting deep in space. You'll have enough power to survive the zombie apocalypse, while still being able to watch my videos. You lucky dog, you. If you're really lucky, your model will even have a built-in air purifier. That way, if an airborne virus is what zombifies us all, then you'll be one of the few survivors who are fully protected. Hopefully, years after the invasion, when the undead have rotted away to the point that they are no longer a threat, you can climb down from your space home and take your first steps into the new world. Hey everyone, now that I've shilled you a bunch of really expensive stuff, and you're probably now fearing for your life if a zombie outbreak ever comes, you're probably screwed, why not relax by listening to some of my videos? Yeah, sure, they're all horror, but you know, maybe that is what makes you relax. Who am I to judge? Also again, please leave us a comment and a like. I would so much appreciate it. You can also find the link to my channel in the description, and there you can find all of my wonderful, wonderful horror stories. I hope to see you next time. Cheers!